Hey, look what up. Look what up. Next Tuesday, Monday night Q&A in this room. That'd be what up. Covers temperature, it covers hormones, temperature, and light. So if I remember right, last time we had finished talking about light acclimatization, which is conditioning plants to low light. So, how many of you have been to the Gaylord Hotel in Nashville? How do you spell that? Gaylord Hotel. Hey. Gaylord Hotel, Nashville, Tennessee. Images. Maybe the most elaborate interior scape I know of. That's the lobby. All of those are tropical foliage plants growing inside that lobby. Looks very, very bright, doesn't it? It's not. It's only bright to your eyes. And it's illuminated enough with extra light to make it look very bright to your eyes. You only need 70-foot candles to read well. That's probably at its brightest 200 to 300-foot candles, maybe 400 when sun is 10,000. All of the trees you see in there are sun plants from the tropics. And in the tropics, they are the tallest plant in the jungle. They get that 10,000-foot candles. And that's what they need to grow like they normally would. But every one of them were, and there's some palms in there too, every one of them in that hotel was acclimatized to tolerate low light. Acclimatization is taking a sun plant and making it into a shade plant. Can't do it with every plant in the world. You couldn't do that with oak trees. Okay? But we can do it with a lot of plants. So in your notes, after the definition of light acclimatization, I give you a life expectancy table. These are mostly plants. Page, what page are we on? 53. Okay, I think somebody said 53. These are plants, all of them are tropical foliage plants. So all of them can grow indoors. One reason they don't need to see a winter. You couldn't put any native Texas plant in there. Any native Texas plant needs to see a summer and a winter. You can only put plants that don't need seasons in there, which would be plants from around the equator, tropical foliage plants. So I have a list of them in their life expectancy table at different light intensities. So let's take this light intensity, 50 to 75, which would be the lower end. We have some plants that can live 3 years before they die. Okay? And then we have some with a dash. That means at that light intensity, they can live indefinitely.
That means they can live in it or cannot?
Can survive in it, live indefinitely. There are some plants in that lobby that probably have been there since I was there 20 years ago. That is their home. But we have some other plants from the tropics that if you put them directly in light, have zero light expectancy at any of these light intensities. In other words, they'll start dying the second you put them in there. They're going to die very slowly. What do you think the first symptom of their death cycle would be?
Browning on the leaf?
No, before that. They just stop growing. Stop making new leaves. The leaves that are there start getting less green, more yellow. And then they fall off. You find them on the ground. How many of you ever gone to the nursery, bought a plant, brought it home, and about 1 or 2 weeks later, half the leaves are on the ground? That's the norm. And after a while, almost all the leaves will be on the ground. And you throw it away and you go buy another one. And we love you for that. You are our repeat customers in my field, horticulture. You are used to buying plants and not keeping them alive very long and buying new ones. But take those same sun plants from the tropics and acclimatize them, and look, they'll live 12 months at that light intensity. At the highest light intensity in this table, which means up to 100. I will tell you, if you put them up to 300 or 400, they will have an indefinite life. So light acclimatization, conditioning a sun plant to be a shade plant to live longer at lower lights. Shade plant, condition it to even lower light to live indefinitely, even in the darker corners. Okay? And that's the whole basis behind our interior scaping and the whole basis behind house plants that you have in your house. Now, if you have a patio with a lot of windows, you got it made. You can grow up just about anything you want. Okay? You don't need to know anything in this table other than naturally will live long indoors. Naturally, sun plants will not live very long indoors, but if we acclimatize them, they will live longer. How many of you remember this curve? This is the effect of light intensity on photosynthesis curve, this red line. That as we increase light intensity, the amount of CO2, the rate of photosynthesis, goes up until it saturates, and it saturates at 1,200 to 2,000 foot candles. What I didn't tell you then was that at the same time the plant is respiring, and it's making food, but it's burning up food. Okay? And this line, this zero line, you could kind of consider the respiration line. It is the line where the rate of photosynthesis and respiration is taken into account, and where those two lines cross is the light compensation point. That's the lowest light a plant can live under, the light compensation point. For this particular plant, it would be 400. 400, just a little bit below 500. Now, what's going to happen if we drop the light intensity below the light compensation point? What is your nutrition compensation point? What is your fat, starch, and protein compensation point? What's the lowest caloric diet that you need to keep yourself alive? Huh? Say it loud. What? It's about 2,000.
To keep yourself alive.
To keep yourself alive. And you know, looking good alive. What happens if you take in less than 2,000?
Your body starts catabolizing either muscle.
I'd like just to call it you lose weight. And what if you drop down to 500 calories a day? You lose weight fast. And what if it's 200 calories a day? You got skin and bones. 100 calories a day. You may be staying alive, but you're not going to live 50 years. Okay? Plants need light like you need carbohydrate intake. Their light compensation point is about 400 foot candles for a sun plant. That's why I tell you those trees are in there living indefinitely, and that light in there is probably about 300 or 400 foot candles. It's right at its light compensation point. They're not growing, but they're not dying. They're just about holding their own. Okay? Light compensation point, the lowest light that a plant can survive. It's not going to grow, it's not going to shrink, not going to lose weight. Drop below the light compensation point, the plant starts starving to death. Okay? How many of you have a house where your room light is 400 foot candles? If you do, you're doing something illegal. Okay? Look at the bottom graph. Almost everything I tell you in this class is for your normal, average, outdoor, everyday plant. What is your normal, average, outdoor, everyday plant? Sun plant or a shade plant? How come I can't make this erase? Huh? I'm hitting the erase button. Let's go to color. Oh, now I can't even write. What am I doing wrong? What did I do? will kill it. Gone. Too late now, I got to start over. When something screws up on my computer, I turn the dang thing off. Make it forget what I did by accident. Make it forget what it did out of meanness. Start over. Whoop, 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 whoop. Okay. What is your everyday average plant? Sun plant or shade plant? Sun plant. Everything I tell you is relative to a sun plant. Plants you grow in your garden, in your yard, for crop production, for fruit production, yada, yada, yada. That's what this red curve is. So this bottom graph has this, they won't let me write again. God dang it. What's wrong? I'm mad now. So I'll use my pointer. That's the sun plant curve. The green line on the board is the shade plant curve. That's its light saturation point. Shade plant. It will carry on reasonable photosynthesis at low light intensity. One reason it has big leaves, a lot more chlorophyll. But it saturates very low. It saturates at about 600-700 foot candles. Where's the light compensation point? Where the two lines cross. That's the light compensation point for a sun plant. Depends on the plant. It's 200 to 1,000 foot candles. Probably average about 400, 500. For a shade plant, it's down around 100. And for some, even below 100. That's why you can take shade plants home in your 70-foot candle lit rooms. That would be your dining room and where you're reading. And they can survive. And if they survive, they will start adapting to that lower light. And guess what? Their light compensation point goes further down. And then they get to a point where they say, hey, I'm here. I can stay here. But it's still on the border of starvation. You still are just above its light compensation point. And if I see your plants, when you show me pictures of your plants, they're all anemic looking. I know when you bought them, they were nice and full, a lot of leaves, really dark green, probably flowering. And in your house after about a year, most of the leaves are gone. Most of the leaves left are the younger leaves. They got some dead branches. They don't flower whatsoever. And there's probably leaves on the ground. And about the time it makes a new leaf, it drops an old leaf. So they're just above. So you have them in a concentration camp. You're giving them a cup of rice a day, which is keeping them alive, but barely. Okay? But that's all right. We get to keep them with us and they live with us. Light acclimatization is to teach a shade plant to even become a better shade plant, and to teach a sun plant to become a shade plant. I told you last time there were two ways to do it. One is grow plants in the shade. You know, I'm having a nursery, and I'm going to grow tropical foliage plants to sell to you. And inside my nursery, I'm going to put what we call shade cloth, which is a very dense woven cloth. And I might use shade cloth that is 3/4 or more shade. 10,000 foot candles, and I have it shaded 3/4 down to inside the greenhouse. It's 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 foot candles. So the plant is growing in shade, constantly in lower light, adapted to that level. That's those of you who run every day or every week. So you can run a 5K at the drop of a hat. You're always conditioned. You can buy that plant, bring it home, and it will survive better, longer. Okay? This is just a list of plants and how much shade we grow them under. You don't need to know any of these names and numbers. But if you were growing, you would know for whatever plant you're growing, what shade level you use for your greenhouse. And you would cluster all of them that need 3/4 shades in one greenhouse, and maybe those that need more light in another one. And then there's some on there you grow them in very, very dense shade. They're the ones that perform really, really well. What's one of the most common plants we have? Oh, pothos. We grow it in very heavy shade. It goes inside. It'll live with you for a long time. Actually looking pretty good too. Okay? The other method is to let the plant grow normally at its maximum rate in the most sun you can give it without photooxidation. Let it grow as a sun plant. It will grow the fastest. It'll be ready for sale the fastest. And then before you put it in, before you sell it to put it indoors, you move it into another greenhouse with very heavy shade. Maybe 95% shade, but very heavy shade, probably about 1,000 foot candles, above the light compensation point, by enough to where it's going to probably do some growing a little bit, but it's mainly going to be conditioning itself. How long? Well, we do experiments to determine that. If a plant acclimatizes, we can measure it by measuring its light compensation point. You know, we take it right out of the greenhouse and we put it in a jar and we measure its rate of photosynthesis. And we turn off the lights and we measure its rate of respiration. And then we subtract the two and we know the light compensation point. What light intensity will the plant be right at its light compensation point? And as long as the light compensation point is getting lower and lower, we know the plant's getting more fit and more fit and more fit. It'd be kind of like you having a trainer that once a month they put you on a treadmill with a respiration mask and they find out at what level can you run a higher speed but burn fewer calories. You're becoming more fit. So we do that. And what we notice, if you take a plant when we first start acclimatizing it at 0 weeks, they have pretty high light compensation points, but it starts rapidly decreasing. And at the bottom of this graph is weeks. So about how many weeks does it take to acclimatize the plant? At what point does the curve stop going down and start leveling off? About 5 weeks. So we say 4 to 6 weeks. Put them in these heavy shade acclimatization houses for, let's say, a month, then you sell them, and they're light acclimatized. Now that's not going to be the plants you buy, okay? You're going to buy the ones that are kind of slightly acclimatized, and we don't care if they die. But when we sell into the landscape architects that are putting them in the Gaylord Hotel, and trust me, that interior landscaping job was multi-million-dollars. Those big ficus and those big palm trees were probably $20,000 each. When they put a plant that valuable inside, they have to know it's going to live. So they will buy acclimatized plants. You can do it yourself. Like, how many of you have plants that you leave out on your patio during the summer, but you bring them in during the winter? Okay? What you should do is in August, start acclimatizing them. Put them into a heavier shade. Leave them there for a week. Put them into even heavier shade. Go to the most shady spot you have. After about 4 weeks, you can put them inside, and they'll survive well. Cool? Light acclimatization. Look at that graph, and I'm going to ask you some exam questions. Everybody, look at that graph. I'm going to ask you some exam questions. At high light intensity, which type plant has the highest rate of photosynthesis? Sun plant or shade plant? Sun plant. Why do you say sun plant?
Because sun plant grows best in higher intensity.
How do you know sun plant? Prove it to me on this graph.
Oh, right here, 1500. Straight up, follow the neighborhood.
Because at high light intensity, the plant's rate of photosynthesis is greater for a sun plant than a shade plant. If I take a high light intensity and I draw a line straight up, I intersect this line at a lower light intensity and that line at a higher light intensity, so that's why. At a light intensity below the light compensation point, which type plant has the highest rate of photosynthesis?
Say that one more time, please.
At a light intensity below the light compensation point, at a light intensity below the light compensation point, which plant has the highest rate of photosynthesis, sun or shade? Put a line down here at low light intensity, get below the light compensation point, you intersect the red line first, very low, green light second, much higher. In the shade, a sun plant will die. In the shade, a shade plant will outgrow a sun plant. Hey, in the sun, the reverse is true. The shade plant can't make it, will be outgrown the sun plant. Which type plant naturally has the lowest light compensation point? Why? Because where the photosynthesis and the respiration line crosses is higher for a sun plant than it is for a shade plant. If I ask you a discussion question, you're not going to give me the final answer, but you're going to tell me how you got to that final answer. It would be at high light intensity, a sun plant's maximum rate of photosynthesis is above the rate of photosynthesis of a shade plant. Okay? Which is why a sun plant can outgrow a shade plant in the sun. This graph tells the whole story. This graph is worth 3 pages of notes. Look at your book. Don't look at your book. Don't look at your book. How many do you think right now you could redraw that graph? About that, just draw it in the margin of your exam, and you'll. And I'll throw you out one from left field. Any question I ask you, and you'll get it right. Cool? Okay. We're through with that. So now let's go to page 57. And we want to talk about light quality. Light quality is color. Now I'm really mad that I can't, my smart board is not smart. Oh, whoa, what was that? How did I get that little speck of red? Oh, I got blue. Good, 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 good. Effect of color. How come I can draw here but not?
You lift up your line, the line that connects it. Thank you. Now you can draw.
You think that makes a difference? I'll lift it up. Put it around my head. Oh, let's do like this. Okay, I hope you're right. Effective light.
Like you're not starting on actual area.
It should be smart enough to compensate for anything I do stupid. Oh man. Okay, I'm gonna have to just point. Quality means color. Look, I'm moving that around. Hey, that'll be my pointer. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Effective light on photosynthesis. We know this. Chlorophyll absorbs red and blue. So they grow best in red and blue. Chlorophyll doesn't absorb green and yellow. It's transmitted or reflected. Because of that, plants grow differently under colored coverings and under different artificial lights. We've talked about that, right? Put an X to it. Put an X through 1 and 2. I can't ask you that again. That was on the photosynthesis lectures. Pigments. When plants absorb light, it's because they have pigments in them. The color of the pigment is the color not absorbed. Right? We have a group of pigments called anthocyanins. They are blue, red, and purple. Where do they occur? Second lecture. The vacuole. Okay? We already covered that. Put an X to it. Carotenoids are orange and yellow. They are antioxidants. You can use them to code your food for healthiness. We tell now in grade school, eat your orange and yellow vegetables. They're healthy. We're really saying eat your carotenoids. They're really healthy. And it's better than taking a carotenoid pill, because the carotenoids in the fruits and vegetables are readily available for digestion and absorption, and sometimes in the pill you just poop them. Okay? We already covered that, right? In fact, your first exam had a question about antioxidants. Put an X to it. Phytochrome. Have we talked about that yet? No, it's something new. Draw a line right there, and from that line down will be on the next exam. Okay? Ow, 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 ow. Give me that thing. Give me that thing. Give me that. Give me it. While it's erasing, I'm going to keep erasing. Phytochrome is a pigment, which means it's colored. And it's the pigment part of the molecule is attached to a protein. So it's a protein-pigment combination. And remember, proteins can be enzymes. The protein in phytochrome is not necessarily an enzyme, but it is active to trigger things. It doesn't catalyze reactions, but it can trigger some things. So really, it's a protein with eyes. Protein with a pigment with eyes, okay? It absorbs red light. If I had a beaker of it dissolved in water, what would the color of the phytochrome be? It absorbs red light. Huh? Bluish green. It would be bluish green. That's right. Absorbs red light. Now, light's energy, right? Is light energy? What happens if you go stand in the sun and absorb light, radiation? You get hot, right? 9 times out of 10, when something absorbs radiant energy, especially visible light, especially red light, it gets hot. But remember, chlorophyll didn't. When chlorophyll absorbed green, red and blue light, it didn't get hot. What did it do?
It turned it into...
It used energy to kick the electron up to a higher orbital. It supercharged. It put the energy from the radiation in the electron. It converted light energy into chemical energy, and it spit that electron out. Phytochrome's the same way. It absorbs red light, and it uses it to change its shape. Okay? Phytochrome we abbreviate big P. In the form of phytochrome that absorbs red light, we use little sub r. We call it PR. So phytochrome, PR, absorbs red light, and it uses the red light to change its shape. You know what gives a pigment its color? Any idea? Its shape. A given shape will make it interact with light differently. And if it interacts with light differently and absorbs it or transmits it or reflects it, it'll look like a color. When phytochrome, which is absorbing red light, makes it in solution blue-green, changes its shape, it's no longer blue-green. As soon as it absorbs the red light, it changes to another shape that can't absorb red light, and it's not blue-green anymore. It makes the solution turn color. Oh. The new shape it goes to is still phytochrome, but it can't absorb red light. But in the new shape, it can absorb far red light, which is a light just past red that you can't see. The form of phytochrome that can absorb far red light, we call P, F, R. PR can be converted into PFR by shining red light on it. So as all good chemists would do, let's write it as an equation. PR, when it absorbs red light, converts it to PFR. The really weird thing about phytochrome is, phytochrome PFR, if you shine far red light on it, it makes it go back to the previous shape of PR. So far red light, when the plant absorbs far red light, PFR disappears, PR appears. It's a pigment that can appear in two forms, and because of that, in two colors. And it's the color of light that switches it back and forth.
Does that reaction happen in the foliage plant?
Every plant in the world, instantly. How many of you have split personalities? Sometimes you're nice and sometimes you're not nice. How many of you like that? People tell me I'm moody. Some people tell me I'm nice. And I say, well, you just haven't seen me when I'm moody. What if you could turn on and off my moodiness with the light? Okay? Here's old Dave, happy, you know. You shine red light on me, and it automatically switches me to, I'm gonna flunk all of y'all. My goal is to make the next exam as hard as we can. You better study like heck just to pass my course and think about dropping it, all right? I'm tired of you little wimps coming in here and not studying to make an A's. Oh, but if you shine far red light on me, I go back to good Dave. Okay? Anybody have a flashlight? Get out your flashlight. Oh yeah, every one of you have a light. Oh, good, everybody get out your phone. Everybody get out your phone. Yeah. And a piece of paper. Piece of white paper. Okay? This would be a good test. Anybody have red cellophane? Anybody have a piece of red cellophane? Okay? Your lights, your white lights are very strong in red light. Your white lights are very strong in blue, green, and red. If I'm Dave, DR, Dave absorbed red light, I'm good Dave, right? Okay? If you shine red light on me, I'm going to go into bad Dave. Right? Far red light will penetrate a sheet of paper. Cover your light up with a sheet of paper. I can still see light. You are now bombarding me with the far red light. If you cut out the red light, just hit me with far red light, what's going to happen to me? Am I going to be good Dave or bad Dave? Good Dave. Straight cell phone light, red light, makes far Dave appear. Light shining through a paper makes good Dave appear. Okay? So shine through the piece of paper at me. Okay? What am I, good Dave or bad Dave? Good Dave. Good Dave, okay. And then at a drop of a hat, when I snap my fingers, remove the sheet of paper and hit me with red light. And you're going to make which Dave appear? Bad Dave. Okay. You know, I'm really feeling sorry for everybody making those lower grades on exam 1. I think I'm going to make exam 2 much, much easier to help you pull up your grade because, man, I've been crying and feeling really bad about that. But to heck with that. No, no, no. Don't follow that crap. I'm going to slap you silly with hardest exams in the world. Okay, make good Dave come. I'm just going to, make it so very easy. Okay? And my mood would change instantly with light being this signal. Okay? That's exactly what happens in a plant. If you shine red light on a plant, look at the equation. If you shine red light on a plant, what form of phytochrome will be present? PFR. The code for light, or red, causes the form of phytochrome PFR appear. It causes the opposite name of the color of light to appear. If you shine far red light, it makes the red appear. Now, in the plant world, PFR is what we call the active form. Active form. It is the form that can trigger things. One thing it can trigger is lettuce seeds to germinate. PFR can cause lettuce seeds to germinate. First of all, lettuce seeds are really small. So let me like dig a hole in the ground. How do you draw a hole? I'm going to dig a hole in the ground, and I want to look at the profile of the other side of the hole. So here's the surface, and this is depth of soil. Okay? Lettuce seeds are really, really small. If you plant them down here, an inch below the surface, they're in the dark. Okay? They're in the dark. In the dark, phytochrome will always be PR. In the dark, phytochrome will always be PR. And if there's any PFR around, by chance, for whatever reason, in the dark, the PFR will automatically go back to the PR. So in the dark, phytochrome is in PR. PF4 is the active form. PF form is the active form that will cause a lettuce seed to germinate. So if a lettuce seed is planted too deep, what will be the form of phytochrome in it? PR. Will it germinate? No. You take that same lettuce seed, plant it on the surface of the soil, and shine on it any white light. I mean any white light. A white flashlight, a white fluorescent bulb, a white incandescent bulb, sunlight, you name it. Any white light has enough red light to act like red light. If I plant it on the surface of the soil, the seed will see excuse me, white light and red light. What form will the phytochrome be in? PF4. PF4 is the active form. Seed will germinate. Light requiring seeds will germinate in the light because they see red light. Light requiring seeds buried too deep in the soil will never germinate because they're in the dark, and phytochrome stays as PR. That's kind of cool. So I could take a petri dish or a jar, put like some moist paper towel in it, put some lettuce seeds on the surface of the moist paper towel, and put the jar in the dark closet. Will they germinate or not? No. Take them out and put them on the windowsill. Will they germinate or not? Yes. Yeah. I can control that. Did I tell you that this happens instantly? The conversion to PR to PFR happens instantly. So I could take, you telling me I could take a jar with some moist paper towels and put some lettuce seeds, put it on a table, get a red flashlight. You know, get your light, but cover it with actually red cellophane. So you're shining pure red light. You know, I could shine red light on my seeds. What would happen? Germinate. So if I went in the closet, shine red light on it, they germinate. If I put them in the windowsill, they'll germinate. If I put them in the windowsill and shine red light, they'll germinate. In any kind of light, they will germinate. Now, you go and you buy from a scientific supply company, you said, I want a far red filter. I want a filter that will block out all light, but only let far red light through. So I'll put a far red filter on. So it really filters out everything, but only shines far red. I take my lettuce seeds, I put them in this room, in the light, and I shine far red light on them. I bombard them with far red light. Enough intensity to where it outweighs the red light. What's going to happen? No germination. So I get my red flashlight. Siri, who told you to speak? Siri, goodbye. The other day, my wife and I sit next to an Alexa unit, and the only thing we use it for extra weather. Out of the blue, that sucker told us something.
says that all the time.
Does it? It's true, they're spying on us.
They
Huh?
really are.
Yeah. It freaked me out. It's like those movies with dolls that talk. Did you hear that? So, where was I? So I take my Petri dish, I put it in a closet. I go inside and I close the closet. Okay? Outside the closet, I turn the lights off in the room. So I can go in and out of the closet without the plant seeing light. It's only see the light I shine. So I go in my closet and I take my red flashlight. I shine it on the seeds. Turn it off. Will they germinate? I go in the closet. I shine red light on them. Turn it off. Will they germinate? Yeah, if I leave them alone, they'll germinate in about a week. Now they're in the dark, so they're not going to germinate well, but they'll germinate. I shine far red light. Turn it off. What will happen? Nothing. Red light, far red, red light. What will happen? Red light, far red, red light, far red, red light, far red, red light. It will remember the last light it saw because the instantaneous conversion, and it will germinate or not germinate based on what you programmed it to do. And if you leave them in the dark closet, the ones that saw red light last will germinate. The ones that saw far red light will sit there like they're in the darkness. If I take the seeds and bury them in the soil below the level of the ground, go inside the closet, and if I shine red light on them, will they germinate? They're buried deep. If I shine red light on them, will they germinate? No, because they're in the dark. Far red light, will they germinate? No, they're in the dark. Okay? Why would a lettuce seed do that? Why would a lettuce seed develop this really elaborate way to only germinate when it sees red light? Now remember, red light's like any white light.
So that way, if it's buried too deep, it'll grow that way because it can't come up far enough to like get light. Yes,
if it's buried too deep. So why does a lettuce seed cannot be buried deep? Why must it be on the surface? No. Why must it be on the surface? It says if I'm not on the surface, I can't survive. Why, if I'm a lettuce seed, do I have to be on the surface to germinate and survive?
Because we eat everything on the surface.
Huh?
Because we harvest what's on the surface and eat it.
I'm a lettuce seed, itty bitty lettuce seed. I germinate on the surface, I have a chance to live. But if I can't see the light, I'm too deep and I have no chance of living. Why does a lettuce seed have to be on the surface to survive?
Is it because the seed is small, it doesn't have enough food?
It's because the seed is too freaking small. And if it tried to germinate an inch deep, it would never get to the surface and it would die. So you'll find this in seeds that are very small. And sometimes you'll buy seeds and they will tell you sow on the surface of the soil. And those are all light requiring seeds. And they're always going to be small. So plants have used this to determine how deep they're planted. You know? How many of you ever had a garden? You weed your garden, get all the weeds out. You get some weeds growing. You plow your garden to kill the weeds and more weeds come up. You plow the garden to kill the weeds, more weeds come up. I plow again, more weeds come up. Every time I plow, weeds come up. Why?
They're getting light because
Because they're teeny tiny seeds. They're all the way throughout the soil. When you kill the ones on the surface and you plow the garden, some more come up to the surface and go, yay, baby, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So sometimes the worst thing you can do to try to kill weeds is freaking plow. Kill the surface, leave it alone. You know? So the weeds do that on purpose. They want to be sitting in the soil, so they're like a reservoir. They want to be on the surface before they germinate, and then if those don't make it, sooner or later something's going to disturb the soil, come back to the surface, a new group, and they'll start growing. It might be a deer walking through the woods or whatever, something. So this is light requiring seed to determine how deep they're planted. That's kind of ingenious if you think about it. Okay?
What kind of questions did you ask about that on LinkedIn?
What form of phytochrome is active? If I shine red light on a leaf, what form will the phytochrome be in? If I shine far red light on the leaf, what form will this phytochrome be in? Today outside in the oak trees, what form is phytochrome in? Midnight tonight, what form is phytochrome in? Okay? Actually, those kind of questions. Oh, I don't need to repeat them. Oh, I don't need to. Bad days here.
Not asking for repeat. If it is at midnight, if it was already had red light on it, wouldn't it still be in PFR? Even though it's in the dark, like we were just talking about.
You forgot. I said in the dark, it goes back. Midnight's in the dark. It takes it 3 hours to go back. It takes it 3 hours to go back. Midnight's after 3 hours. 1 a.m. What form? 7 p.m.
PFR.
Both.
It's transitioning.
Takes 3 hours. Yeah, it's transitioning. Yeah. So if you know the conversion, the light that triggers it, and dark that triggers it, and whatever I ask you, how I phrase it, you can get the question right. Imprint that diagram in your mind. If not, write it out in the narrative. Cool? Okay. Concept of the atmospheric window is very simple. When you go outside, what color is it? What color light environment do we live in? What color is sunlight? It's white light. What color is white light? All colors. How do you know sunlight is all colors? How do you know white light is all colors? Rainbows. Rainbows prove it. When it use the atmosphere as a prism, somebody said prism, it separates the colors. The rainbow proves to you that white light is really all colors together. In fact, that's what white is. When your eyeball sees all colors of light, it will tell you, okay, we call that white, okay? No one color dominates. Sunlight gives off everything. Gamma rays, X-rays, ultraviolet, all the colors of the rainbow, far red, infrared, radio waves, microwaves. But every day of your life, outside is white light. Every day of your life is white light. The colors of light, the colors of the rainbow, blue to red, pass through the atmosphere without being affected. Other than a rainbow making a prism, they pass through the atmosphere totally unaffected. That's the atmospheric window. That visible light passes through the atmosphere unaffected. That's why every day is the same. You never get up and say, oh, it's a blue light day. You know? Now, the atmosphere does affect some other forms of radiation. Name me some other forms of radiation that the atmosphere will affect. Ultraviolet. What filters out ultraviolet? Ozone. What about infrared? Long wavelength infrared. Water vapor and CO2, that's the greenhouse effect. And the radio waves and that kind of stuff. But the only light beyond visible light that's totally not affected by the atmosphere would be gamma rays. They zing through all the way through. Concept of the atmospheric window. So in nature, we live in a natural environment made up of reds to blues. We perceive that as white light. That's the colors of light we can see because it's the colors of light we have that are consistent. And plants use the same kind of light because that's what they see every day of their lives, except they don't see green very well. Concept of the atmospheric window. We basically see what plants see and vice versa. So our last topic is photoperiod. Photoperiod is how plants respond to the length of night versus the length of day. It's not intensity, it's not color, it's just how long do they see the lights that they can sense, which is mainly the visible light. And we have some plants, when they see short days, if they see short days, what's the length of the night? Long nights. when they see short days and long nights, it triggers them to do some things. It triggers them to do some photoperiodic response. Okay? One of the most common photoperiodic responses is plants native to Texas in the fall start getting ready for winter by making their leaves become less green, more colorful, and then fall off. Now the reason why they fall off is that when the plant perceives winter coming, because it sees short days and long nights, it starts taking all the food in the leaves, moving them out, and storing it in the stem and the roots. It says, I know I'm going to drop all my leaves. I know they're loaded with carbohydrates. Let's drain everything out and store it for next year's growth. And they die because of starvation. So when you see them getting nice and pearly and colored, that's what a leaf looks like when it's on its deathbed. So that's a short day response. In the world of plants that flower, we have some plants that flower naturally in the fall. And in nature, they only flower in the fall. The best example is poinsettia. Poinsettia is our Christmas flower. One reason why it's a Christmas flower is it's one of the few plants that in nature would flower in the fall of the year. And it's trying to flower before the cold of winter. And we bring it inside, and it has been adopted as the Christmas plant because it's red and because it's there in the fall. That is a short day plant. Okay? Have any of you ever grown onions in a garden? Any of you ever grown onions? You know, you plant a seed and you want onions. If you plant a seed and it starts growing, the onion will only form under long days. Now, onions are a winter crop, so you plant them in the fall, but the bulbs would only form under long days. So if I planted seeds in the ground, let's say September, onion seeds in the ground, when will the bulb form? In spring, about this time of year. That's a long day response. They grow all winter as a winter crop, but they only form their bulbs when they see the long days of spring. So that's a long day plant. If you plant onions in the fall, you'll have only onion tops, the leaves. Man, I want some bulbs. You call me. I planted my onions, it won't make any bulbs, Doc. They're big, they're tall, big old leaves. No onions. What am I going to do? Well, wait till spring, because they only form their bulbs under long days. So we have a lot of plants that do things by the season. And when it's a fall and a spring phenomenon, very often it's a photoperiodic response. So that table gives you the kinds of plants and the kinds of things photoperiodic can trigger. For example, poinsettias or short day plants when it comes to flowering. Onions are long day plants when it comes to bulb formation. All of our trees, all of our deciduous trees are short day plants when it comes to forming fall color, dropping their leaves, and acclimatizing for winter. Okay? I don't want you to know any of these names or any of these kind of responses by the plant. But I do want you to know the kinds of things that photoperiod can trigger, which is everything from flowering to bulb formation to plantlet formation to going dormant. The most common being flowering. Our two most common flowering plants, our three most common flowering are poinsettias for Christmas, Easter lilies for Easter. Poinsettias are short day plants. What do you think Easter lilies are? Long day plants. And chrysanthemums. What do you think chrysanthemums are? You can go to the garden center and buy them any day of the year. What do you think they are? They're short day plants. They only flower in the fall. How could I make a chrysanthemum flower in the summer? It needs short days and long nights. How can I make them flower in the summer? Block light, what would you do? If you have it at your house, what would you do with it? Where would you put it?
Just cover it.
Cover it with something? You'd have to cover it with something, or put it in a closet and close the door. You can't let it see any light. So my wife loves poinsettias. She says, I want to keep them all spring. And they stop flowering, the leaves fall off. She says, I want to make them flower again. I said, okay, baby, if you want to do that, what you have to do is they're a short day plant. They need long nights. Every day at 5, you go put them in the closet. Close it and never open the closet. Every morning you take them out and you put them in the sunlight. Give them artificial long nights. In a greenhouse, what we would do is we'd put them in a greenhouse and we would cover them with a real thick shade cloth called black cloth. So black it's like a darkroom photographic cloth where inside is pitch dark. So we can do it by creating artificial long nights, short days. And if I want to make a long day plant do something, I create artificial long days, short nights. How would I create an artificial long day? Just turn the light bulb on, leave it on longer. So, what do you live in? Do you live in a short day environment or a long day environment? In the wintertime, the days are short and the nights are long, but not in your house. Where you live is always long days. Every building you go in makes it long days. Every street light makes it long days. You live in a world that by and large is lit to about midnight. Few places start turning off their lights in the middle of the night, but in our houses, in our apartments, outside on our streets, in the malls, even in the bars, we keep the lights on. So we live in a long day environment. So poinsettias will never flower if they live with us unless we keep them on purpose in long days. So I had a student wanted to grow poinsettias for Christmas, and they built them a greenhouse out in the country. And they started growing them in the greenhouse, and they knew they had to have short days and long nights, continuous long dark nights. So that's why they went out in the country, and they made sure that during the fall they didn't go in the greenhouse at night and turn on the lights. They kept it by itself, and come about December, they're still not flowering. But only on one side of the greenhouse were they not flowering. Doc, I got a problem. We're going to poinsettias for Christmas. I can't sell half of them because they're not flowering. And I can't figure out why. I'm doing everything right. I said, well, where do you live? I live out in the country. Do you live by a road? Yeah, I live by a road. Do you ever have cars pass by? Yeah, I got cars pass by all the time. I kind of live in a curve of the road, and the lights shine in my greenhouse when they make the corner. The lights shine in my greenhouse when they make the corner. This light effect needs light just this brightness. Light enough for you to be able to see a plant is bright enough for the plant to see light. And every time a car passed, long days, long days, long days. So they did everything right. They were in the country, no extraneous light, but they forgot about car lights. We've had people do the same thing, and outside their greenhouse they put a street light for burglary purposes. And they wonder why this stuff doesn't flower. Okay? So how can I stop? How can I stop a short day plant from flowering in the wintertime? Based on what I just told you. How could I stop a short day plant from flowering in the wintertime? Give it light. Any kind of light. Turn the lights on in the greenhouse, hang lights above it, drive your car back and forth all night long, up and down the aisle. Any kind of light will shut it down. Okay? Short day plants really don't need short days. You know what they really need? Long nights. They need a continuous long night. And anything that jacks with that long night stops them. So in your notes, under the definition of short day plant, write long night plant. They truly need long nights. Uninterrupted long nights. Long day plants need short nights. Some plants can be grown in 24 hours of light, no night, and they'll be fine with that. Long day plants need short nights. So why did they call them short day plants and long day plants when they really are long night plants and short night plants? Because by the time the scientists discovered that, they had all the introductory text written. They said, we can't change all that terminology in these books just because we know that's wrong. So they left the name the same and said, people like Reed will explain to you why just the opposite is true. Okay? You don't need to know the names in this table, but but the kinds of things that photoperiod can manipulate. Turn to the next page. The part of the plant that measures light would be the leaves. We say leaves are the site of perception. Okay? It's in the leaves. And this is what happens. This would be a short day plant. Example of how a short day plant works. During the daytime, we call that the photo period. Photo means light. That's the light period. During the daytime, the main thing that happens is photosynthesis. Accumulates enough food for the plant to grow and survive and flower and fruit and all that kind of stuff. And in the daytime, what form is phytochrome in? It's in PFR. In the light, every white light acts like red light. Remember I told you that? Every white light acts like red light. So in the white light of the sun, in the red light of the sun, it takes all the PR, makes it PFR. Okay? When the sun goes down, the plant is loaded with PFR. And before anything happens, it has to disappear. It takes 3 hours for it to disappear. In the dark, PR will be converted back to PR. It takes about 3 hours. And then we don't know how plants do it, but they measure a length of night. And then after a certain length of night, the plant will start making flowering hormones. Whatever it takes to trigger the plant into the flowering mode, the enzymatic processes that make the flowering hormones and that kind of stuff occur at the end of the night. And the night needs to be long enough to make enough of the hormones to trigger the response. If I shine red light on a plant, what happens to the phytochrome? If I shine red light on a plant, what happens to the phytochrome? Goes from PR to PFR. How fast? If I shine white light on a plant, what happens to the phytochrome? PFR will appear. How fast will that occur? 4 a.m. What form is phytochrome in? PR. 5 a.m. PR.
6:30. There you go.
My computer's slow. Today, sunrise was at 6:52. Sunrise was at 6:52. You could see before 6:52. You can see 1/2 an hour before sunrise. That's called civil twilight. You could start seeing light at 6:28. Plants can see light exactly like you see light. If you can see light, they can see light. So when you see day breaking and the first light appearing, and you wake up and say, day is here, as soon as the plant sees that same light, instantly PR goes to PFR. PFR is an active form. What do you think PFR does? Hey baby, good morning. Hey baby, good morning. Stoma, open up. Leaves, unfold. Morning glory, open your flowers. That's how a plant knows when the sun rises. That's how a plant knows when the day appears, when the light makes the PFR appear, and it stays there all day long. Stoma stay open all day long. All the daytime events happen all day long because PFR says planet still day, keep doing it, planet still day, keep doing what you're supposed to do. And then the sun goes down, and then a half an hour later it gets so dark the plant can't see. I think it's nighttime, and the PFR starts going back to PR. 3 hours later, the plant says, man, there ain't no more PFR around. It is dead night. And it stays that way for all night. Phytochrome is what determines when daylight starts and daylight stops. And the time from those two times also dictates our night length. Okay? If you have a short day plant, write this down. If you have a short day plant, it needs long nights. December. The days are short and the nights are long. Will short day plants flower? Yes. How can I stop them? By making the night short, by turning on lights during the night. Could be at the beginning of the night, middle of the night, or the end of the night, but I'm going to do something. Every time I turn on the light, what does the plant say? Morning. Good morning! And I turn it off. Half an hour later, I turn it on. Good morning! I turn it off. Okay? If you do anything to make that plant go, good morning, it's going to no longer see a long night. It's going to start seeing a short night, and the plant will stop flowering. You stop a short day plant from flowering in the winter by adding light in the night, and you want to add it in the middle of the night. Middle of the night. Write that down. It's an exam question. When do I add it? Middle of the night, because that's the safest time. Long day plant, what does it need? Long day plant, what does it need?
Short nights.
Short nights. In my greenhouse, I got some long day plants. I turn the lights on. What do they say? Woo-hoo! Short nights, let's flower. If you want to make a long day plant flower in the winter, if you want to make a long day plant flower in the winter, turn the lights on in the middle of the night. Because you will give it incredibly short nights. In the winter, stop a short day, add light. In the winter, start a long day, add light. Middle of the night. That's how we grow chrysanthemums for Mother's Day. We grow them in a greenhouse. The days are short and the nights are long when we start them in January to get ready for May. But we keep lights on every night. So in the greenhouse, the plants think it's summertime. We keep them under long days, short nights. About 6 weeks before May, we turn the lights off, let them go into natural photo period, and we cover them with black cloth. Summertime. Summertime. In nature, what normally flowers? Long day or short day plants? Long day. In the summertime, long days of summer, long days, short nights, long day plants flower. How do I stop them? How to stop a long day plant from flowering in the summertime? Give them long nights. Cover them with black cloth from 5 p.m. to 8 a.m. The last thing your workers do when they leave the greenhouse is pull black cloth over the benches with the plants. The first thing they do when they come in the morning is unroll it, creating artificial long nights in summertime. So in the summertime, I can stop a long day plant with covered with black cloth. What would happen to a short day plant? It would start flowering. If you put a chrysanthemum in the greenhouse in the summer and cover it with black cloth, hey, good. We call that timing, photoperiod timing. I can totally manipulate the photoperiod to be the shorter long days, shorter long nights with light and black cloth. I can make these photoperiodic plants flower any time of year. Okay? So I hope you took good notes, because the bottom of this page, everything I put at the bottom of this page, I summarized for you on how to make a short day plant stop flowering in the winter, start flowering in the summer, and vice versa. Okay? Between now and next Tuesday, you only need long days. Those of you that are photoperiodic and get a little sleepy, kick on the lights, baby. Long days of studying. See some of you Monday.
6 o'clock, right? Or Monday?